Live.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Ends Justify the Memes, the show where the lowest of the low. It is the most wretched of wretched and deplorable to end all deplorables. Two white heterosexual males from the American South. We talk about culture, philosophy, history, health, and what it means to be a man in the 21st century. I'll be your host, Bill, and this is my co-host, Tank, and producer as well. Sorry, Tank, I had to figure out which side of me you were on, like, because this has changed. Anyway, so crack open a beer and lend us your ear, because the ends always justify the memes.
Woo!
By the way, folks, we have a brand new look. Same great taste, though, because we are now working through StreamYards instead of Discord. So hopefully everything looks better, sounds a little bit better, and the show will be, of course, the same, but a little bit different. In any case, what's going on tonight, Tank?
Oh, not much. Trying to get into the Christmas spirit. I admittedly have a lot of trouble doing that every year. But I'm trying to pull through.
Yeah, I don't usually have much issue with it, but I sorry, I just wanted to make sure our stream, everything was sounding good. But yeah, I was having a little bit of trouble this year myself, just because of everything and family stuff, and everyone being scared of the coof. And I mean, I can't wait till my wife has this baby, and next year won't be that big of a Christmas, but the one after that should be pretty fun. I think I need that. I need little kids around again. Yeah. So, in any case, you drinking anything tonight, or are you taking a night off?
I am. I'm drinking a different scotch than what I normally drink. This is I guess we're doing scotch reviews on the show now. This is Old Pulteney 12-year. It's actually pretty inexpensive. I think this bottle was like $45. It's from a different region. It's from Port Wick, which is most scotches that you see, like your Glenlivet, Glenmorangies, and all that stuff, they come from your Highlands. And then I drink Lafroig and Lagavulin a lot, and that's from Islay. And this is kind of like a small region you don't see a lot, but it's good and it's cheap. So here we are.
Well, here we are. You're going to be my go-to guy whenever I decide to get some scotch. That's all I know. I'll probably have a glass or something over the next few days, because I'm sure my dad has some pretty nice peaty scotch sitting around the house somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Although I think I'm at a point where I could probably give my liver a break again. Because not that I drink every night, but I do drink quite a bit, quite often. So I have a very, very strong Scottish liver.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. Anyways, let's do some memecast news, because tonight we're going to kind of keep it light with the holiday coming up, and we have a ton of memes. We do plan to talk about alternate tech sites for anyone who might be interested in finding folks elsewhere. But we're going to have some fun with some memes just to get ourselves in the holiday spirit.
All right, what you got for us here?
All right. So, folks, if this is a little blurry, I'm sorry. This is the best I could do. We might figure this out later on. But if you haven't figured this out, Tank, it seems like you're thinking too hard about this.
I really, yeah, okay. It's got to be a song or something, right?
Yeah. The Django Bell, the Django Bell, the Django Bell rock, the Django Bell swing, the Django Bell ring.
What the fuck?
As before, Tank, I had to get the memes to Tank, and he got to see them ahead of time. So now we get actual live, honest reactions.
Django Bell, Django Bell, Django Bell rock. What? Okay.
All right. What in the world is... There we go. Okay, and here it says all the other reindeers used to laugh and call him names. Let me size that up some. So you have Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cubit, Donner and Blitzen.
And they used to laugh and call them names. And
That's right.
I see now. That is I'm gonna give this meme a 7. It's good, but it's cheesy.
Oh yeah, of course.
But that's one thing I do like about Christmas time is it's like everyone gets an excuse to just be absolutely as cheesy as possible, and revel in it. So I appreciate that.
I'm not into the old ugly Christmas sweater thing, but there was one with the DiCaprio from the Django, the face. There was one with that on it, and I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I think I want that. I was like,
well, anyway. People used to do that. They would have like these other ugly Christmas sweater parties, and it used to. When I would do them, the rule was you had to go to like Goodwill or something to get one. You couldn't just like order something cool off the internet or whatever. But kind of the problem we run into is people would go get like the ugly Christmas sweater from Goodwill and actually look kind of cool. But then people start doing that thing like you're talking about with the sweatshirts and just putting like, I mean, I've seen them with Die Hard and it's cool and all, but it kind of defeats the purpose of the ugly Christmas sweater.
Well, the thing is that when I was a child, the ugly Christmas sweater was not the ugly Christmas sweater. It was just a Christmas sweater that you got, and everybody wore them because people generally look like trash in the 80s for some reason. I don't know. In any case, here we have tiny tots with their eyes all aglow. Find it hard to sleep tonight.
What the fuck?
They're tiny tots, man.
It looks like Sonic's
yes.
tater tots are federal agents.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Says when your family won't shotgun beers with you at 9 a.m. on Christmas. Well, happy birthday, Jesus. Sorry your party's so lame.
And okay, so this one does kind of hit on for me because my family doesn't drink. Like really, like my mom and dad, aunts and uncles, they do not drink. They're old school Southern Baptist. They don't drink. Me and my brother are absolutely rowdy, especially when we get together. We tend to break a lot of laws. So that we are doing this. So we're like shotgunning beers and stuff for everybody. Everybody gets like weird looks and shit.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't grow up really around alcohol. My dad used to get like old duels because he grew up drinking beer, but he stopped drinking. And then all of a sudden, into my teen years, my parents drank a little bit more often, but usually just around the holidays, wine and stuff. And now they don't drink a lot or anything like that. But anytime there's a family get together or something, they'll have a few beers or a few drinks. And it's just odd because they were teetotalers when I was really young and not so much anymore. In any case, we have little Susie here writing a letter to Santa. Dear Santa, I want a baby brother for Christmas.
That one's pretty good.
This was the more PG version because I saw some other ones that were a little more risque. And we're not afraid to go there, but I don't go there too often. So I don't like to get too crazy with the show. So let's see. It says, Science by Santa. Remember, bad children get coal. Good kids get nuclear power plants, which are much more fuel efficient. This is actually a fixed meme because originally it said solar panels.
And who wants that? Yeah.
Not only that, but solar panels aren't fuel efficient. What are you talking about? Like, you know how much energy is lost in a solar panel?
Well, when I was a young tank, I before I became anti-science as a kid, I remember I wanted a chemistry lab or chemistry set when I was a kid. And the whole reason why I wanted a chemistry set is because I wanted to try to blow something up with it. Because like you're a little boy, you want to make explosions happen. So yeah, being a little kid, I would much rather have a nuclear reactor than a solar panel for sure.
Speaking of being a little kid and blowing stuff up, I was telling my wife about when I don't even think I was in kindergarten yet. And my dad had one of the old Gerber Mark II knives, like from the 70s when they actually had like nice steel. And that's a 7-inch combat blade. It's one of the first like kind of combat knives specifically really made. And I actually had it for a long time. I don't know what happened. Maybe my ex-wife got it or something. I don't know. Apparently they're kind of highly prized if you have one of the old ones from the 70s. But in any case, I took this thing. We had this big old oak tree in the front yard. And we're talking like I'm 4 or 5 years old. And I'm like hacking at the oak tree and the bark with this combat knife. And my dad yells at me because I bent the blade. Like he didn't get mad because I'm like playing with a 7-inch knife or anything like that. He's mad at me because I messed up his knife because I bent the blade. And I don't know how my parents have made it for so long.
Yeah, I used to do stuff like that, like play with something, mess it up. My dad always say, you would tear up a crowbar in a sandbox.
Dude, I had a my dad would give me these little pocket knives. We're talking about, again, I'm like 4 years old. I play out in the backyard, whittle down a stick, was running around with both of them, tripped, whatever, stabbed my leg, had the scar in my leg for the majority of my life until, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, finally completely went away. But like, yeah, it's just like crazy stuff that we don't, we don't think about today. Like the fact that I survived all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Playground fights and everything else that just don't happen anymore. Or after school fights on the way, walking home. I remember when I was learning to ride my bike, I first ride my bike. I didn't have one when I was younger, so it took me a while, and I didn't quite get the brake system, and I hit a curb and like flew over it into this lady's yard, and then this like woman who was like this kid in the neighborhood's mom or whatever, but she like yelled at me. She's like, "You dumb kid!" I'm like, I literally just like went, my feet over top of my head, flew off my bike, and like thought I killed myself. And she's yelling at me over it. It's different times.
Right.
Anyways, let's get back to the memes. It says Santa wondering why there are so many children on the nice list this year.
Another black pill election meme.
Yes. Antifa's coming to the North Pole. Not on my watch.
Boomer memes.
Yeah. That's a sweet little AR, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is nice.
Yeah, I don't know what barrel like that is, but it looks like it's looks like it might be shorter than a 16. I don't know.
Like a little, like might not be ATF certified there.
Yeah. It's got a PMAG. I'm not sure what in the world that monstrosity is on the back there, unless that's a holographic sight. I can't tell. Anyways, forget the Red Rider. Time for an upgrade. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I always prefer fixed stocks, and I know like that's totally not tactical and everything, but I like that look.
It's not that it's untactical at all. It's the movable stocks, collapsible stocks just became popular amongst the military for personalization primarily.
Yeah.
I have a fixed stock on my AR. And one thing is if you're in certain states like New Jersey, you have to have a fixed stock.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, you can't do like the 4 or 6 position stock. Yeah, they're ridiculous. I know because I have a buddy who is he's an American citizen, but he's from the Soviet Union, moved here, and he's like 18 or 19. And he's a killer, like trains the SWAT team in his area in New Jersey and whatever else. Very, very hardcore martial artist. Nice guy though. But anyway, stayed with him, showed me all of his toys, and told me about the compliance laws. And I was like, man, like that's crazy. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I go work with the SWAT team. He's like, I go out there and when we shoot and do all this stuff. And he's like, even me, gotta go through all this crap. In any case, because the naughty list is real, stay nimble, Saint Nick.
I like the elf shroud. That's pretty dope in the background.
Yeah, this is this almost makes me want to get a higher res version of this and make this like my background screen on my computer. It's like a little Call of Duty mod or something.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta make this one a little bit smaller. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He's already cut the phone lines. There's really no escape.
What the fuck? That's dark, bro.
Yeah, I love it. How about this? Santa doesn't tolerate commies.
We got a 12 gauge there too. He's not playing around.
Nope. I like the little body pile of elves, though. That's the best part.
Yeah.
I definitely certainly have very dark humor. And when I was young and an artist, I drew very dark things quite often. So, but I appreciate this. I appreciate it. I've been sitting on this for 6 months now. I actually got a couple different memes of this variation, but yeah, nobody's getting anything this year.
So wait, so is Santa like a boomer certified now?
I don't know, man. I don't know. What I do know is he's got a beer, so he's cool with me.
Yeah.
So here we have, I'm sorry you saw me, Timmy. Now I'll have to kill you. Speaking of which, I got something to watch.
No witnesses.
What the fuck?
Wait for it.
That's dark. Whoa. Good.
Now everyone knows my secret. Bill's actually a psychopath.
Well, somebody's got to be.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually a pretty nice guy. Most of the time. It says, me, wait, what list am I on, Santa? Well, I've been looking into your memes and you've been posting, so probably DHS, NSA, and the FBI.
Yeah. Well, so one of my dreams is to eventually meet the federal caseworker that's over, wiretapping me. Just I like to have a conversation with that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he knows everything about you. You guys might as well be friends.
Yeah.
There are two types of people in this world. People who know Die Hard as a Christmas movie and communists. I'm pretty sure I used this one a few weeks back, but I don't care. My wife
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. There's no
yeah.
There's no other answer to that,
My wife had never seen Die Hard till we got together, and she missed out on a lot of very important cultural things.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed it to her, and she's like, "That's definitely a Christmas movie. I don't know why people even argue over it." Yep. It's not Christmas until I see Hans Gruber fall from Nakatomi Tower. Sorry, guys, if I spoiled the end of Die Hard for you.
Spoiler alert from what was it? That movie come out like 1990?
I think 87.
Oh, really? Is that old? Wow, I didn't even know it was that old.
Yeah. It might have been 90s, but I think it was like 87. Yeah. And you don't have to get me anything for Christmas. It's a trap. Speaking of which, man, I watched this season of Mandalorian this past week finally, and man, it was dope.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, the Mandalorian's a little slower. I like the first season too, but it has just enough fanboy service in it. It's not like the movies where they're just retarded. In fact, I know some people don't like Rogue One, but that's pretty much of the new movies the only one I actually like. Of course, I'm not a prequel fan either.
Yeah, I've never seen the prequels. I think I've seen all of the newest ones, and I don't hate them.
I went and saw The Phantom Menace on opening night. I had waited in line after school for, I don't know, an hour or so. I was like 16, 17, however old I was at the time. And I waited in line after school, and we saw it opening night, and I was like kind of blown away by it. But then the repeat value of it was something else, because you start realizing how slow it is, the problems with Anakin and whatever else. And there's one thing that did trouble me because I always thought Anakin should just have been this like pissed off teenager, not this little kid. But whatever. I mean, everyone's a critic, right?
Yeah. Like that's the thing about Star Wars in general. Like once a year ish, I watch the original trilogy, just to fuck off for a day or whatever. And I like Star Wars, but I don't necessarily think they're good, if that makes sense. Like, I don't have illusions that these are like the greatest movies in the world, but I do enjoy watching them. And I think that's where people get confused. They're like, oh, if I like something, that means it's good. Well, not really. I mean, I like a lot of terrible shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like I completely don't understand anyone who likes the Fast and the Furious, but
yeah, I don't get those.
Yeah, but people do. They enjoy it. So, let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. It's the way I see it. But yeah, the original trilogy, my sister and I used to like binge watch over and over again during the holidays, Thanksgiving, the Christmas break, all that stuff. I was telling my wife we should do that and then watch The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I don't like any of the new the new edits to the original movies. So I actually have DVD copies of the original movies as they were originally shot. Right. It's like, for me, it's just a kind of really cool world. I grew up playing all the video games and stuff, not all of them, but a lot of them, and reading a lot of the Dark Horse comics and whatever else. So, yeah, Star Wars nerd. Anyways, leaving milk and cookies out for Santa will be considered indoor dining. Citations will be issued.
I'm going to give away my age on this, but have you ever seen the movies, the Puppet Master movies?
It's been forever, man. I never really.
They're old. They're old. Yeah. I grew up with that some of the horror, and she looks like one of those little puppets off Blade specifically. The guy with a little knife hand.
Yeah, if I seen them, I think it's because they were playing on like the Sci-Fi Channel back.
Yeah. I mean, they made like 13 of them or something. Way too many, basically.
Yeah, I was more into like Hellraiser than I was something.
Yeah.
Like Puppet Master personally. And Hellraiser is quite disturbing.
Yeah.
In any case, let's see here. Dad, do we really have to put up all these lights? Well, Rusty, just like Jeffrey Epstein, they ain't gonna hang themselves.
Oh my God. How much more mileage can we get out of Jeffrey Epstein?
Oh, he'll go on forever. Right here. I should tell Hillary that Santa knows that she killed Epstein. Then I could take Santa's job and have all those kids jump on my lap.
Ooh, that's a little. Ugh.
I got hairy legs. That's what I learned about roaches. Sure, and I'm a shop of the pressure. All right. True and anonymous shop of the pressure. I had to tell my wife about this. She's like, "What? True and anonymous shop of the pressure."
True, yeah.
True and anonymous shop of the pressure.
Tim Pool, man, he brings that up like every stream.
Dude, because it's hilarious.
Yeah,
this guy's gonna be the president, man. People talk about Trump for years.
Yeah,
he's the worst idiot. It's like Joe Biden.
He's gonna be a president for what? 72 hours.
Yeah. So it says, Grandpa, tell us a story about the olden days. Back before the great toilet paper war of 2020, we had so much toilet paper we used it to hang it off the houses and trees of our enemies. Speaking of Joe Biden, I want to play this for you real quick. You need to hear this for sure.
This country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
What? Didn't that used to be a conspiracy theory?
Donald Trump's the racist, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my God! I wish I'd have copied some of the tweets I saw today about people being like, I don't want to get too spicy, but basically saying, if Donald Trump's going to give us $2,000, then they need to recount them votes.
That was good news, man. I made a quick shot yesterday over on All Minus One, and I made a longer video about the suicide rates going up because I actually didn't cover this in the video, but I started looking at Build Back Better just to find something as a to use as my like cover photo for the video,
Right.
and all of a sudden, all these local governments, like county governments, the Christian organizations, all these people are talking about Build Back Better, and I'm like, has the world gone mad? Has the world gone insane that they are taking marching orders from the globalists, from the World Economic Forum, from these folks that literally want to absolutely control you and destroy life as we know it? But I don't know. That's a side note. But aside from that, Michael Bublé farting on your presence. I've been sitting on that one for a while too, man.
What the fuck? Okay.
I guess they, this is one of his album covers or something. I'm not a Michael Bublé guy, but in fact, I wouldn't even know if it was him singing or not. But I mean, it does look like that. He's like, let me just bend over.
Little toot, little Christmas toot.
Yeah. Gotta season that up, man. 'Tis the season.
No subs. Wow.
Oh, Christmas lights. I think they sell these lights sets at all Target and Walmart stores in California. Yeah, the only stores that are still open.
Yeah. I didn't even know California had Christmas.
Well, I mean, for a few more years. And then we have some more Christmas lights.
That's pretty good.
And then a Trump, keep driving, Karen. Then we have Christmas Wars, Fauci strikes back.
Man, this would be a good opportunity to stick Charles Schwab in there.
Yeah, well, I'm lazy. I don't make these memes.
Well, we just talk about the memes, fellas. We don't make them.
Yeah, I just mine them. I meme mine. Speaking of which, there was an article about, if I'm not mistaken, I saw a meme of this, but I'm pretty sure it was an actual article. They're like, are you aware that some of the memes that you mine might be coming from Nazis?
No. Wow. Volkswagens came from Nazis.
Yeah.
So what? Like,
yeah, my wife owns one, so I might be a Nazi. Just in case anyone had any doubts. It says, for all of us, all I want for Christmas. It says, what's your favorite part of the new COOF vaccine? You could still spread the virus, 2 months immunity, 10 to 15% reaction rate, increased HIV risk. That's not quite right, but they have found people testing positive for HIV afterwards. Bell's palsy, anaphylaxis, no manufacturer liability, still have to wear a mask, all the above. Yeah,
I don't, never mind. I'm not even going to bring that up.
I saw a friend of mine who was a nurse, and where someone I knew from high school, I should say. No, anyway.
Did you thank her for her service?
No, I'm not gay. But someone I knew from high school, I should say, on her Instagram posted that she took the shot. I guess she's a nurse in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And she said, I actually kind of liked what she had to say, because she was like, she's on the front lines and she's saying, we can talk about it. I understand people have different views and opinions. It was very open, but it wasn't like this super virtue signaling kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm not, no. I'll wait. And no. All right. So this one kind of came in blurry, but I couldn't get rid of it. So Barack Obama gives hospitalized kids surprise of a lifetime. Kunduz Hospital airstrike. October 30th.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got to have their hobbies.
Obama.
Obama. No. That's shopped. It's got to be shopped. What?
What you see, you cannot unsee, my friend. You cannot unsee.
Oh my god.
Sorry, guys. We got to throw.
This post is disputed by Twitter fact checkers.
Yes. So it says in 1915, these two bullets collided during the Battle of Gallipoli. The chances of this happening was 1 in a billion, or about 300 times more likely than Biden winning the election without cheating. As a rando meme I had to throw in there.
What's that? What is that? What can you tell those calibers? It looks like what? It's a 37.62 by 54 on that big one.
In those days, most of the rounds, from if I'm not mistaken, were 30-06.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong.
So that'd be World War I, 1915, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What a shitty war to be in. Ooh.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Terrible. Best we can do is $600.
And you know, when you see Cocaine Mitch and Pelosi teaming up together, like they have been, these people
like that? Like
yeah,
that?
yeah, exactly. These people that are like, Trump's part of the establishment. He's not, he says he's anti. Like, look at the establishment hates him. Like, whether you like Trump or not, do you think he's a fascist or whatever? The establishment obviously hates him.
This is like the thing, though, and I get it. I dabble in the conspiracy talk,
Yeah.
It seems obvious to me, but this is what I don't get when people are like, oh, no, he's just there to usher in all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. Like, we had the one guy, we had Kizza on in the chat starting to say that stuff, and it kind of annoyed me because I'm like, you're like, how clueless are you? Like, you can't see what's going on? And I get it. There's a lot of theater in politics, but I don't think it's on Trump's side, folks.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Trump is theatrical, of course, but it's not like the theater of, Mitch and Pelosi being arch enemies or something. So here we have Christmas Vacation. Clark W. Griswold gets $600. There's old Nancy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, goodness. This is a meme for ants?
Yeah. 'Tis the season to screw the people. You.
Well, yeah. I mean, isn't that every season, though?
Yeah. 'Twas a few days before Christmas. On the floor of the house, your congressman just screwed you. That huge effing louse. From your friends on Capitol Hill this holiday season. Piss off. America's broke and dying. Congress. I'm going to pay you $600 to F off. I wish I had a Ricky impression because I love Trailer Park Boys, but you ever watch Trailer Park Boys, Tank?
I've not seen like a whole season, but I've seen like several episodes. Yeah, so yeah.
He's just a great character, like his sheer stupidity and whatever else. Everyone on the show is kind of, awesome. And Jordan Peterson approves as well. So says Rudolph, please leave Grandma alone this year and run over Nancy Pelosi instead.
Ooh, and there goes our YouTube account.
Yeah, it's a meme. It's a joke. It's a joke, Susan. Just like this.
Oh, that's a good one. Hey.
Let's see if I can get it a little bit bigger here.
Oh,
yeah.
One of my favorite movies.
Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, that's Yeah, so my buddy, he's like, they're two good movies about killing communists in self-defense. Susan Wiki. In Minecraft, Scarface and Well, I obviously said Red Dawn. He's like Red Dawn and then Scarface. And I didn't remember because I saw Scarface when I was younger, but I went and read Ross was like, yeah, the whole first part of that movie is like, I'm gonna kill communists for free. In self defense. In Minecraft.
All right, we're almost there. Almost there. Merry Christmas, Patriots.
Man, Trump would look good if he could grow a beard.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I don't know why he doesn't do it.
Look with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz completely changed his slimy sleazeball image just by growing a beard. And Rand Paul grew a beard and looks quite good. Let's see here. Last few, we got to recall that Christmas is actually about Christ's birth. I know I had all the secular stuff in here, but Apostles' Creed 2, Nicaea. Begot, not made. Ho, ho, ho.
That is St. Nicholas, who is an Orthodox saint.
Yes, I had several St. Nicholas ones, but this one...
that is the actual... I'm pretty sure that is the icon version of St. Nicholas that we have in the Orthodox Church. I mean, obviously edited, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing... I'm going to try, just between family stuff the next 2 days, I'm going to try to get a video out on the historicity of Christmas and Christ's birth and when that actually was, and the real deeper meaning of that from a Christian perspective that some people may or may not be aware of. But essentially, folks, let me put it to you this way. God freed you from your sin and your evil and from the tragedies of this world. Put it as simple as that. And so he was born into the body of a man and lived just like you and gave up all of his infinite power. So with all that said, beat that Pope, because get him out of here.
He's stepping down, though.
Is he?
Yeah, they just, I haven't fact checked it, but I saw where people saying that at the end of the year he's going to step down.
Well, that's 2 in a row, because the last 3 have all covered up, or the last 2, I should say, Ratzinger and John Paul II, what they both covered up huge pedophilia scandals. And folks, you can be Catholic and have a relationship with Christ. That's fine, but you cannot treat the Pope as God on earth, which is what he claims to be. So that there's that. And then I got one more video for you, at least. I think I got 2.
To all the children in the world. Children in the world in return for what? Well, nothing. So, you are communists. Da. Why do you think I wear red, Governor? Two vodka, 1 cookies and milk.
1 vodka, 2 cookies and milk. All right, this is completely un-Christmas related, but man, do you have to see this.
No. You can't be serious. No.
Girls,
oh my God.
I mean, that girl looks like she's pretty. But just because she's pretty doesn't mean she's not an idiot, guys. That could be staged.
It's gotta be. No one's that.
I don't know. Maybe the guy's a pervert and he's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna watch this girl," and then be like, "What? What's going on?" All right. So that's it, Tag. That's all I got. Go ahead.
And we're back.
Woo! That was a long Meancast news, but I had a lot there, and it's Christmas, so the gift that keeps on giving: memes. Oh,
all right. So I kind of last minute came up with the idea that maybe we should talk about what we think of some of the alternative tech platforms we're going through and are coming out, and where we think the future of these things are going and why BitChute sucks, because really it has no reason to be sucking. I know you got some words about BitChute, I guess, so we can start there.
Well, we talked about this with Kizza the other week, or Saturday. I don't know that BitChute is the worst platform out there, but my experience with BitChute has not been good. I have uploaded on my channel, All Minus One, over to BitChute from the beginning. I started, and I would have to go back and try and re-upload videos 3 or 4 times. It would just stop uploading, or they wouldn't appear. It would take forever. I've recently tried to relink my YouTube channel to BitChute, which it's supposed to do automatically. It basically just takes a copy of it and transfers it over. Never have been able to get it to happen. I have repeatedly, on different devices, my phone or my computer or whatever, logged into BitChute only to it tell me that I can't log into my account. It's kicked me out. It's done various things that just aren't fun. And I'm kind of like, I don't want to work on your platform, man. I'm sorry. I know you were the first real competition against YouTube, sort of. Not really, because there's always been Daily Motion, and there's been was it VMO or whatever? There's Venmo, which is the pay service, and then what is it? VMO, the video service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so there have been other platforms, but they work slightly differently. BitChute, though, I've not been a fan of. I got BitSlide a while back, the phone app. It's great because unlike YouTube, often I want to listen to podcasts on YouTube. You have to pay to do that, to turn off your phone screen. Otherwise, I have to leave it on. So if I'm driving or something like that, that's a good time to do that stuff. BitSlide allows you to turn it off, your screen off, that is, and it will continue to play the audio. That's awesome. Except for then it kicks you out and logs you out. And then I have to go back in and log back in, and then it does stupid things like saying, "Oh, well, we don't, that account doesn't exist, or we don't know who you are," blah blah blah. And you try to reset passwords, all those things. It's not fun. Make it simpler, guys. Make it easy. Whereas my experience so far with other services have not been that. And recently I've been uploading to Rumble. I didn't get the videos I did yesterday out on Rumble yet, just because I'd been busy. And I kind of forgot about it earlier today. Otherwise I would have been done, but I probably will do it after the show tonight. But it's only going to take me a couple of minutes. Like literally, it's going to take me 5 minutes max. BitChute, we're talking about 45 minutes, an hour, and then I have to come back and check and see if it uploaded correctly, whatever else. I'm just not a fan. And I know there are people like Sticks Sexenhammer who have been preaching it for a long time, saying it's decent, that the people are working on it. I get that. I know there are certain people who are on there almost exclusively now. I know that there are people. One of the things I was thinking about earlier tonight with the memes. Last year? If it wasn't last year, it was back in the spring. I don't remember when it was. I just remember I was traveling when I was watching it. There's a BitChute exclusive from Devin Stack. That is the Black Pilled. And I don't think he's really on YouTube much anymore, if at all. Although I do know he's over on DLive. But he did a video about how all of the secular Christmas songs were all written by Jews. And talking about the cultural influence of that, essentially. And I could see where that take is racy. And I also know what Devin, believes generally about the cabal that runs the world, that I'm not really on that train. Influence is one thing. It's not them alone. We'll put it that way. It's a lot of factors and a lot of people, and regardless, that's a nice thing, is that BitChute wouldn't kick him off because of that, or other people off. I think there's some people I used to watch on YouTube, like James Alsop, who does nothing but BitChute now. I guess, I don't know. I haven't watched that guy in years. there were several people. Obviously, Stefan Molyneux got kicked off YouTube for no reason. In his speculations, because he's never been monetized and he wasn't making them money, so why would they keep him on? But I've had a love-hate relationship with Stefan Molyneux, because years back he would talk about Ron Paul and act like Ron Paul was going to get rid of all this stuff when he very specifically said the steps he was going to take in the federal government to reduce the federal government, and it wasn't going to be like just destroying everything overnight. And Stefan Molyneux made this giant hyperbolic argument that that's why Ron Paul could never be the president. And people listen to stuff like that, and they think, oh, no, he's right, because they never look into it themselves. And then I've seen him bully people before in the past. I don't know if he does it so much on his show when they call in. But in any case, either way, there's a need for alternative platforms. At some point, we're not going to be able to be on YouTube.
Right.
Like Tim Pool's left wing. He's not hard left, but he's left wing. He's allowed to be on YouTube, but that's going to be the right wing extremist.
Yeah, well, he's definitely inside the Overton window. That's why I don't. Well, he's around. He doesn't get. Someone must like him at YouTube, but
well, he's very credentialed. He is help them build their platform, I would say, to a large extent, at least political commentary. I've been watching Tim for probably about 6 years. And, people say whatever about him. I get annoyed with him sometimes because he doesn't take hard stances. And then other times I'm like, you're talking about conspiracy theory stuff, but you don't realize, like, for a long time, he talked about Joe Biden and Build Back Better, for instance.
Right.
And he was like, oh, is he just plagiarizing other people? And I'm like, no, you idiot. Look it up. Look it up. It is what the World Economic Forum says. It's going around everywhere. Build Back Better is code for Great Reset. And then John Kerry just came out the other week and specifically on the World Economic Forum in a podcast said, yeah, we're all about the Great Reset. In any case, so there's stuff with Tim, but
yeah. But BitChute sucks. That's the point about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But my point is Tim's going to be okay. He's going to be the new right wing, according to YouTube eventually. Mm-hmm. We have to be on other platforms. Everybody does. If you want to present information, you're going to have to be out there. Unfortunately, and another reason to bring up Tim is Tim seems to think that if YouTube gets rid of you, you can't have a career any longer.
Right.
And I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all. So you and I are talking about, you started it. I had actually thought about it. We're creating Locals, which is Dave Rubin's social media provider, where you get to decide who you want to see and don't want to see. And that's it,
Yeah.
So we have a Discord channel, which we need to work on. Don't get me wrong. But we want to build up a community of people, like-minded people who can obviously chat, discuss, provide information. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the way it should be. We decentralize everything. We create our own communities. We go on these alternative platforms. Like, I'll post my stuff to my personal Facebook page, but I'm not like heavily advertising it. And I don't think people have been following me on Facebook for years anyways, because all I ever do on Facebook is post either like photos, family photos, or political stuff. And I don't even get on Facebook anymore. And I mean, I've been doing that, posting political or historical stuff on Facebook for, years, since I got on Facebook back in 2010 or whenever it was, which before that I thought was gay. And I've come around full circle and still think Facebook's gay.
It is, I got off Facebook mainly because I don't care to debate it. Honestly, like, my opinion has changed a lot since, I was younger, and, we've said in the past, I used to be pretty libertarian. But, my opinions changed a lot. I just don't care to argue with people. That's what I did on Facebook. We'd get on there and have, arguments and stuff about whatever it is. I just don't care. It's not good for anybody. Like, anyone who generally wants to understand someone else's point of view doesn't go to Facebook to argue about it, and that's kind of where I'm at on a lot of this stuff. But yeah, but getting back to BitChute, BitSlide, I was really happy when BitSlide came out because the BitChute app before that was absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I don't know how much I don't know anything about tech. I could not build a platform like BitChute. So let's just go ahead and get that out there. I'm an idiot when it comes to anything. I'm an idiot, period. But with that specifically, so I don't know. I don't know how to code. I'm better off being a journalist because I never learned how to code. But
you'll learn to code. You'll learn to code.
But you're right. It just functions really shitty, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's a money issue. Like I don't see why money would be the reason why it functions so poorly. If your code works and your code works, I would think. Like Gab, Gab doesn't make any money, but their website works. It's not as pretty as Facebook or Twitter or whatever, but I could see where that would be the money issue. It's like we don't have the money to.
I literally just pulled up BitSlide. It's asking me to log in. I did this before. Why do I need to log in on an app on my phone every freaking time? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I could look past the logging in if the freaking thing that says it's going to upload your YouTube videos worked. That like if that function for us worked, I would whatever. I have to log in.
Supposedly it works. I remember Sargon talking about it back in the day, talking about backing this stuff up. And in fact, you can't find one of the best videos Sargon ever did was a breakdown of the politics of Starship Troopers. And I'm a Robert Heinlein fan. I'm not have read everything he's ever written or anything, but I'm just saying I like some of the philosophies he espouses in his books. And I am a fan of the probably his greatest book, Stranger in a Strange Land. Mm-hmm. Starship Troopers is a pretty good little book that was just a bunch of little short stories that were released in magazines before. And Sargon does a breakdown of all of the stuff in that, and that it's not fascism, which is what the modern director Paul Verhoeven, I believe it was, made that movie out to be. He wanted it to be fascism and propaganda and all this other stuff, except for Starship Troopers isn't about that at all. It's a classically liberal type society, which you needed to put some sort of service or effort into society in order to have full on rights to be able to work in the government, that kind of stuff, right? In order to be able to vote. In any case, he did a great breakdown. YouTube took it down. The only place I know you can find it now, of course, I have a copy on my computer because it's good, and I'm gonna keep that stuff. But the only place I know it's on now is on BitChute, as far as online. Dave Collin made a video the other day at Computing Forever, said he had 10 of his videos taken down, 10 off of YouTube. That is not good. And what is he talking about? He's talking about the Great Reset. He's talking about the pandemic. He's talking about what's actually going on. And YouTube is complicit in bringing in the New World Order, if you would. I'm not saying that YouTube's turning the frogs gay, but they might be. And look, man, it shouldn't matter if I want to talk about the most ridiculous conspiracy theory I ever wanted to. Like, it shouldn't matter to YouTube what I say, because they get an exemption. They can't be sued over it. This isn't about them so much being scared that they're spreading bad ideas or something like that. It's them wanting to control the narrative. And we have seen that with the election fraud stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, that's obvious. Like, the guys that work for Google belong to a certain cast of people and their tribe. They want to make sure their tribe looks good. I don't think that's a big brained concept. I think that's easy to understand. I just think a lot of people don't want to look at it that way. I think, especially like the more normie conservative libertarian types. I think they don't want to view it. They get really hung up on like economics. They're like, oh, YouTube could just make money if they didn't worry about speech, and that might be true. But at the end of the day, it's that very Schmittian. Your friends, your friends, your enemies, your enemies, and that's just how the world works. Not to get too off topic with that, but yeah. So I guess what I was saying before is I can deal with a website being ugly. Rumble's kind of ugly you're looking at, but if it ends up working, then I don't care that it's ugly, and they can make some money later.
Right.
Odyssey was cool, but it's like their video limits are like 2 or 3 minutes or something. Because I was trying to connect our YouTube to Odyssey, but it will automatically upload from what I understand, but it does very short. Like I tried to upload a video that we did with Kizza on Odyssey, and it wouldn't do it.
Well, my understanding is that Odyssey is library, yet library still exists, so I'm not really sure what that differentiation is. But I think when I was, at the beginning starting off, because I've been doing this for about 6 months now, I think that the deal was you could only upload at a certain level of quality. And so what I would have to do would be to rip my YouTube videos after they had uploaded at a lower, instead of 1080p, it would have to be like, 720 or something like that. So I'd have to do it at a lower, what is that? Quality, and then re-upload it to library. I think that was the case. I was also working with Brighton, but Brighton was interesting too, because like Facebook and all, if I would post something from Brighton there, they'd be like, oh, well, this is considered hate speech. I'm like, what? Really? Yeah. Inappropriate content. Can't upload Brighton. Why? Because they're free speech. And I don't even know what's going on with Brighton now. I haven't seen anything. I've been primarily sticking to YouTube and until recently. And of course we stream on DLive, but these other sites have their issues. And don't get me wrong, like I also got Kizza's argument that these things took a long time to build up, even amongst YouTube.
Right.
Okay, but DLive didn't take a long time to build up, and it works pretty good. I mean, we don't pay to keep our streams up forever, but they have their own in-house crypto. They have all kinds of good stuff, and people seem to like to use it. Of course, there's Twitch and other stuff too that we really wanted to expand out to.
Let's take a short break real quick. I gotta take her something in here, and then let's come right back.
I could kill somebody, folks.
Yeah, let me just murk somebody real quick. All right, we're back in. It won't take me but a second. Hold on. And we're back.
All right. That gave me just enough time to go pee. So, I will say this though, you could be quicker. I mean, I'll have to teach you how to kill people quicker than that.
that
Man, that
was
that
rough,
was too
huh?
long. Huh?
So that was rough. That was a rough assassination there. Just a little too
So-
long.
So yeah, anyways, there will be a need regardless for anyone to get on alternate tech. The real question is, how do you grow
Yeah.
with alt tech? And unless you build a community, right? You have followers, regular followers, listeners, like you and I are both regular followers and listeners of Matt Christensen's podcast. And I've been a patron of his and gotten to know him over the years. So they literally have a community. Now, I remember Matt some years ago was at like 250 or something, and now I think he's around 200,000 people who are his followers on YouTube. So it's hard to say because people get pissed off at whatever. I've had people, my counts go up and down. I don't know if it's people being mad at something I said or if that's YouTube just stripping away my little less than 100 subs that I've built up over the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not proclaiming that I'm perfect or do the best content ever. I'm learning. I'm trying to make it better as I grow and everything. But that's the place to go. Now we've had people come to us on D Live too. We're growing over there slowly.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people, how many normies are going to be, reached to? Not that I particularly speak to normies, because I think a lot of the stuff I say, they're like, no, that can't be happening. It can't happen here. I'm like, okay, it's happening here. And you've been in the midst of it, and your grandparents were in the midst of it, and they didn't think it could happen here either. And that's why it's gotten as bad as it has. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like, what are your experiences right now with trying to get this set up elsewhere, live streams or whatever else?
I mean, D Live's worked great. You know, D Live's been it's come in clutch. Entropy, actually, I actually just put the Entropy link in the private chat for us. I wanted to get you to look at it and see how good it's working over there. Entropy seems cool. But it seems like it only works it's tethered to D Live, which is fine, I guess. But that would mean that, for whatever reason you had to, if you got kicked off D Live, you'd probably be screwed. I don't know how else to do it otherwise.
It's working. It is running right now, but we've had issues with it where it wouldn't come up before. And
a lot of that I think was because, you trying to D Live, like right now we're streaming on D Live. I don't have a D Live tab open. It's completely shut off. I don't have a YouTube tab open. It's completely shut off. The only thing I have is Entropy, because if I close out the Entropy tab, it stops streaming. That's not the end of the world, especially now that we're using StreamYards, because StreamYards is such a lighter program that it doesn't, I'm not, when I want to check on something, I don't have to worry about anything crashing. And that's kind of why I was like, trying not to have 5,000 tabs open before. But Entropy, it's cool. I like the interaction that's got built into it. It's got this little chat. It's got polls and stuff. People want to post questions. It would be good if more people would use it. But they don't. So it's something I try to shill a lot when I talk to people. I'm like, hey, go to the Entropy specifically.
Well, that's even like the basics of asking people to like, share, subscribe, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not because, excuse me, not because, I'm telling you that you have to do something. I'm saying, hey, if you like us, do that. It helps us grow, and it allow you to come back to us, because if you don't subscribe to people or you don't like their content, and don't get me wrong, you shouldn't necessarily subscribe to just if you like one thing and one piece of content either, but up to you, whatever. If you don't do those things, though, you might not find those people again.
Right.
And you have no idea how hard YouTube actually does shadow ban. And in fact, I am more than certain that my little channel, All Minus One, was being shadow banned to some degree through the algorithm, I would assume, before the election. And the reason why I say that is because my subscriber count was going up, going up, going up, going up. And all of a sudden it dropped and it stayed steady.
Right.
And I see growth near daily, at least weekly, generally. And for several weeks, it was stalled. It was weird. It was very, very weird. And again, maybe I'm not the best at presenting information, or that space is oversaturated, whatever else.
Well, I'm sure the oversaturation's got a lot to do with it. You know, these guys that got into it 4 or 5 years ago, it's a whole different world. That's why I'm really interested to talk to Matt Christensen when we have on the 28th, because he's a veteran, you know, of YouTube, and he kind of grew his channel up and became what he is, and he's very successful, obviously.
But Matt got famous overnight, though, based on his one video he did about Cenk Uygur and Ben Shapiro debate. And when Uygur was like, just Google it, you know, you can Google it. And that's how I found Matt. And I'd been following Blonde for months before that. I had no idea they had a show together.
Right.
So that really boosted him up. And that happens. You know, I've had a couple of videos that have gotten a decent amount of hits. I've had, I don't know, I haven't looked at my analytics in a while because I don't really focus on them that much, but I had one video that I did, and within a few days I had 5,000 views. Well, that's a lot of views for me.
Yeah.
You know, I've not been at this long. But you know, it was something people were searching for, and somehow it got boosted up in the algorithm. I don't even know. It was like a 3-minute video I made, and I got some weird backlash too, where people, because it was about Ron Paul having a stroke, and people were like, "You didn't show the video," and I'm like, "I'm not, dude. I'm not here for blood sport, man. Like, you can go find it elsewhere." I did watch the video myself personally, but I also, you know, my wife and I are friends with people in the Paul family. So it was kind of personal a little bit, you know. It's one of those things where you don't know what's going to make you big or what might break you. But again, YouTube unfortunately seems to be the place to grow. Although we've done a lot of growing on DLive, I feel like, I believe, you know. It's hard to say because, you know, we for some reason we don't always have viewers either.
Yeah. Well, you know, and we're unknown. I mean, not to sit here and talk about how
either elsewhere, right?
But you know, not to complete, you know, make it a woe is us. No one watches our shit kind of thing. But you're right. Like building. I hate to use the term building a brand because I don't want to be the guy that looks at it that way. But and that's part of what it is. You know, people tune in to because they like your takes or they confirmation bias or whatever. And like when, you know, when I contacted you to even get into doing this thing, my whole thing was the world's a very chaotic place. I don't really understand it. I would like to understand it. I just want to talk to people about it. And that's really all I want out of it. But even that, like, to get people to talk about it, it's hard. You know, it's hard to build people to do it. And that's part of the other reason why I think a lot of these alternative tech platforms are trying to grow. And I really hate to do this, but I feel like a lot of guys, especially on, you know, our side of the aisle, like Twitter, for instance, you know, you got Gab and you've got Parler. You got two alternatives to Twitter that no one really uses. And I think a lot of the reason why is because a lot of us are masochists. You know, we like to go on Twitter and see crazy people, these blue check marks, journalists just say outlandish shit, and we like to, you know, talk shit to them. Basically, is what a lot of, you know. I mean, I'm guilty of it as anybody else. And since those guys aren't on Gab, it's not as fun. You know, it's not as, if you go on Gab and everyone agrees with you or more or less agrees with you, you're not really having a lot of fun like you do when you're on Twitter, like refreshing feeds and looking at like these people saying outlandish shit. And that's unfortunate. Like I wish more people would, because there is enough disagreements even on our side of the aisle that you would think more people would be on Gab just talking about that sort of thing.
Well, the thing with Twitter was it was dying. I thought
Yeah.
Twitter was stupid. There was a movie, Vince Vaughn movie, I think called Couples Retreat some years back, and he's calling it twatters and twats, and
Yeah.
he's like, and that's kind of what I always felt about Twitter. I was like, this is so stupid. People were like, I'm going to take a poop now.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm going to McDonald's now, or whatever it was. It was like in the moment. And then it became political.
Yeah.
And it became political largely because of the rise of Trump as a political figure. But before that, it was dying. And I have a Parler account now. I post my stuff over there. I don't want to be on there engaging. It's much like we were talking about Facebook earlier.
Mhm.
I used to waste hours at a time. I get off work, 8 a.m. in the morning, lay down in bed, try to sleep, couldn't sleep, mess around on my phone. End up being up until 3 p.m. in the afternoon or something crazy, and then I had to go take care of my daughter after she'd be home from school, or basically get a hold of my parents and be like, "Oh, I haven't slept all day today."
Right.
And I'm not saying that I suffer from insomnia, and it isn't always like that was why I was awake. I'm just saying it's a time suck. You get addicted to it. My thing was with this kind of technology initially. I wanted a smartphone because of its capabilities for me to read and research. I used Facebook specifically to follow one friend who actually, interestingly enough, later on worked for Facebook, works for Google now. But in any case, to follow one friend who was going to school out in California at the time and would often travel the world and whatever else. And I found out quickly that Facebook was a really good news aggregate.
Yeah.
Of course, then they started changing algorithms and whatever else, and it's pretty much garbage. And now Facebook's become boomer book.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
bad.
going to go away like MySpace, in my opinion, and we'll probably see that with Twitter. The real issue I see with like Parler or Gab is they're just Twitter clones, and you have to do something different. That's the thing. If you're not going to do something different, why would it draw people away from that original product that blew up or was big? And so I know you talked about like debating with people and all. And I look, every now and again, I'll jump on the Twitter. I have a Twitter account. I got on there to follow someone specifically some years ago. And I had pretty much avoided it, and I still don't get on very often. Every now and again, I'll get on. I'll make a comment or two with something someone says that's just absolutely asinine, and that's how I use Twitter. And part of our growth too, like I was saying, is that we don't really shill ourselves. All these other people that have big channels, have been around for a while, have been popular on Twitter, have gone through these certain sagas. And I honestly, I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste my time in my life because I want to talk about stuff and want to be able to have people engage with me in that. Want to have people in our chat. Want to be able to have guests on and speak with them, which is not. It's not terribly hard to get people on per se, but it's not as easy as you might think.
Right.
But I'm also spending a lot of time researching, and generally I already know what I want to talk about. Or I might get a lead on something somewhere, and that'll just spring something in my mind. But this show's different. Like we don't do this show like I do All Minus One. I do All Minus One very specifically about whatever issue I feel like talking about at the time, and trying to convey a point or draw a picture of how I'm seeing the world. This channel's different. This is about just kind of us trying to figure things out and having discussions about it. And of course, memes, lots of memes.
Yeah.
But in any case, man, I think for us the best way is, of course, to spread out everywhere, get more folks on. Obviously, we've already made some friends. we will have Matt Christensen on. I'm gonna have to press blonde because Rebecca never checks her damn email, and I know I emailed her. Maybe I'll see if I get on the call and show tonight and be like, look, Becky. She hates that, by the way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's someone that's just getting started in this thing. The market's saturated. You're just kind of doing what you're doing. But like, just a lot of these, I don't think these alternative tech platforms are going to survive if they're a chore to use. And something like Minds is kind of a chore to use. And maybe not to use, but the experience, like when you're on there, every post on Minds that I see is either way too spicy. I mean, that's you know the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And then or it's just like these 3,000 word posts about weird esoteric art. It'd be like this picture of like a lot of the accounts that when I was on Minds, like trying to be active, a lot of the people I'd follow, I just started following people just because to fill up my news feed. And a lot of this stuff was just, I mean, boring. I hate to say that because, people are just living their lives. Not everyone's out to be entertaining, but it's nothing you like. It's something you feel like you have to, like on Twitter, I'll get up and I'll log on to Twitter and see what everyone's talking about for the day. Like, cause I use it as a news aggregate for the most part. And specifically I like it because I'm more interested in what people are saying about the news than the news itself. And that's a really good way to do that. So, it's engaging. It's fun to be on like, oh, I wonder what people are saying about this. And you search the hashtag or whatever. Mine's it's almost like everyone's trying to be their own social media, like superstar. Like they're not shit posting, I guess is what I'm saying. Like they're on there, like trying to be super serious and super sincere and have these very like thought provoking, but also niche kind of thing. And, not everybody's, I'm not built for that. I don't think most people are built for that. There's a handful of people that can get on there or get on social media and say something super, super thought provoking or whatever. And then everybody else is just talking about that.
I had a similar thing with Minds, like with BitChute or whatever. I just tried to see if I had the app. I couldn't even remember. I logged into Minds years ago when it first was created. Same with Gab. And I just pulled up the Gab app. I don't even know why it's on my phone because I never use Gab. But again, I'm not interested in that kind of social media interaction so much anymore. Some years ago, more so into it. Not really now. But in any case, I had the same problem. Like Minds, I have an account on. Pretty sure it's under Marine Echo 26. Which is a name I've used because it's an old my old infantry unit. I can't log into it. It won't let me log in.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, recovery email, all that stuff. Nope, didn't work. So what am I supposed to do? And it's like the account doesn't exist. I'm like, well, no, it does exist. Because if well, let me check real quick because I think I can do it from my computer. But I mean, those are like minor tech problems. I don't understand why they're even happening. Yeah, mine's is this. Even the way this looks is so different from the way it was last time I tried to mess with it. But again, I don't care. I don't care to have that kind of interaction. Did I used to? Yeah. In my early 30s. Yeah, sure. Now I'm like, no. This isn't good. It's not good for your psychology. I think the difference is with something like this is you and I are having a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? We get Kizza on or Yiz. Last time I talked to Yiz, we need to get her back on the show. There's a bunch of people I want to get on the show. I just get sidetracked. I've tried to contact a few people and just not heard back from them as well. There's a YouTuber I like, what's her face, who blew up a little while back. She had a very small channel. that blew up a little bit because she made a pretty funny mask video. I actually used it in one of my my videos because it was short. It was all about virtue signaling and masks and all. But that's what I'm saying. That's kind of how people often grow.
Mm-hmm.
And these alternate sites, like you could be on every site and every place and everywhere. I don't know how worthwhile it is. What I do know is I need a backup.
Mm-hmm.
I need a backup because the primary site, YouTube, will seek and destroy us because I'm a constitutionalist and they don't like that. They like the Great Reset. They like communism. They like all that crazy stuff. And what's really strange to me too, and you were talking about the people over at Google or whatever else. Like I was saying, I have a buddy, he literally works there, and I've mentioned this to you before, where he's got a PhD in psychology. It's cognitive psychology, so it's not really behavioral. It's based on how people learn is what cognitive psychology focuses on. And you know, he was going through a tough time. He's splitting up from his wife, and they had a young kid, and all this stuff. And you know, really broke my heart when I saw him. I mean, pretty sure I cried. I was like later on in bed with my wife, and I was just like so upset about it because like I can't believe all this. And it's like, you know, I could tell like, he was holding back his emotions. So it's like that. If you Conan the Barbarian is one of my favorite movies, so there's a scene where Subutai, his companion, cries, and he goes, "He's Conan. He does not cry, so I cry for him." That's kind of how I felt about for my buddy, though, you know. And in any case, I mentioned something about human nature, though, and he's like, "Human nature? What's that? What's that? Like human nature doesn't exist?" And I know he's a lefty. He's not a hardcore lefty, but he's also, I think, with that experience, maybe got a little bit of a red pill too. That's how life is, buddy. In any case, my point is, if he, as a researcher, works for Google, I don't know specifically what he does, but I know he does research for them as a cognitive psychologist. These people think this way, have no real conception about, you know, life. I know his whole family, and they're all lefties, and they're nice people. They're good people. I'm not against them, but I think that they are disconnected from reality, from how the world really works, you know. So in any case, like again, like you were saying, there's just these people in these spheres and these spaces. For me, there are certain people I don't even want to engage with because you just can't. Like Voldemort, for instance. He's just a disingenuous person. Why would I engage with someone like that? But you know, I want to have conversations. And the big thing that got me off of social media was understanding I couldn't have real conversations with people. I was typing out a bunch of stuff on my phone or on the computer, typically my phone, and they're not listening. They're not hearing. They believe a certain thing. Often you get dogpiled if you go on someone's personal page. Like, I actually had a friend a while back who was like, "Oh, I'm unfriending you." And I'm like, okay, I figured that was going to happen eventually. And they're like, "Well, you come in and you troll my posts." I'm like, "No, you don't have your facts straight. You don't have full information." And I believe it was over. It was either it was like I don't think it was the Christchurch shooter, but it might have been. And I was like, "Did you read the guy's manifesto?" Because I did. I watched the shooting, actually, not because I took any joy in that, but because I wanted to see what actually happened. And you know, I've been exposed to all kinds of crazy stuff in my life anyway, so that stuff doesn't really affect me like it does a lot of people. In any case, my thing was that guy was an eco-terrorist. He straight out said he was an eco-terrorist. He said he was killing Muslims because they breed a lot. And it might not have been the Christchurch shooter, but it might have been the Walmart shooter. It was kind of the same thing. And then, you know, she was talking about, the rise of right-wing Nazis killing people. And I'm like, no, these were left-wing people. These were people on the left. Right-wingers aren't eco-terrorists, folks. You know?
Yet.
I mean, you could talk about Timothy McVeigh. I did a video a while ago and someone commented. They're like, You don't know what you're talking about. What about Timothy McVeigh? I'm like, you have to go all the way back to the 90s. I'm talking about the last decade, what I've been seeing in the streets, the terrorism of the left in the streets. For the last
Well, Timothy McVeigh was he was a police brutality protester.
Yeah,
it's a funny thing actually.
Waco. Yeah,
it's a funny thing you bring that up because I saw a post on Twitter. And they were saying, it was one of these like, who would you want to chill with? And I had like Timothy McVeigh, Osama bin Laden, somebody else, some other kind of terrorist, or and I think the Boston bombing guy, Zarnev or whatever his name is. But people were saying, oh yeah, I would like to hang out with Osama bin Laden, or I'd like to hang out with whoever, and everyone that said Timothy McVeigh like got shit. I mean, it was obviously a shit post. Like no one wants to like hang out with a bunch of murderers, but people were like, oh, McVeigh, that'd be interesting. They're like, well, he was a white supremacist who killed a bunch of innocent people.
No,
I'm like, well,
that understood collateral damage because he was in the Iraq war and he was upset about that. And then Waco happened and he got upset about that and decided he was going to retaliate.
But I was like, Osama bin Laden, like mastermind, killed a bunch of innocent people too. So it sounds like the only thing you really have a problem with Tim McVeigh was that he was a white supremacist, which is whatever. That's what you'd be upset about. But
I don't know of any proof that he was.
They say that like he read the Turner Diaries or something, and the guys at Waco did have some kind of connection to white supremacists. But here comes the spicy take. If your hatred for minorities leads you to move out to the woods by yourself and never have contact with anyone, then what really is the problem? But whatever. Let's say he was a Nazi. The fact that he blew up a building is more important than the fact that he was a Nazi. Osama bin Laden also helped blow up a bunch of buildings. So, like, why? It's a weird hair to split. I feel like. Part of my. But I mean, it was a shit post anyway. I don't want to get too serious about it.
Part of my political awakening was reading Gore Vidal, who was a known anti-war leftist, and he wrote a series of articles that was turned into a little booklet I picked up at a bookstore back in the early 2000s, and it was called Perpetual War for Perpetual Peace. And man, did he make a lot of good sense.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Gore Vidal did is he went and interviewed and talked with Timothy McVeigh, and he's like, it's not what the media is telling you. It's not what the government says. This is his own words. And Ron Paul made the same points. And yeah, I'm not any sort of expert, but I don't think there was any sort of racism there to my mind with him. What I did see is the same thing that always happens. It doesn't matter what book he read. If I read Mein Kampf, I'm a Nazi. If I read a Communist Manifesto, though, I'm not a communist.
No, you're an English professor.
Right. So why is it that if I read left-wing stuff, it doesn't make me anything, but if I read something that's supposed right-wing, Mein Kampf, by the way, is a left-wing book, folks. I could prove that pretty easily because everyone who was left-wing back in those days, everyone who was a progressive, everyone who was someone who liked centralized authority, which is what leftism is in the modern context. They all talk about eugenics and centralized economics and their expansion of socialism and whatever else. And that's what Mein Kampf talks about. So it drives me nuts that there are people who are considered intellectuals who still talk in this left-right dynamic as if it's not a false dichotomy. It's absolutely false. Was Hitler right wing of Stalin? Yes. You know who's further right than Hitler? This guy. Because I'm a constitutionalist in the American context. I want to preserve that thing that seemed to be constructed so well that we ignore all the freaking time.
Well, the 20th century really fucked up everybody's idea of. That's why I don't even talk about left and right anymore. Like to me, the difference between left and right matter less than a difference between, say, progressive and, for lack of a better term, reactionary.
I think do it because it's parlance, man.
Yeah. No, I get. I mean, I do the same. Like if I'm talking to a normie, I'll use those terms. But you know, whether or not Hitler was left or right, whatever, however you want to draw that line, but he absolutely wanted to do what he felt progressed society. Same as Mussolini, same as Stalin, same as a lot of guys. They ultimately believed in the idea of progressivism. They obviously had different, ends for those, means or whatever. But
let's recall that Hitler praised FDR and FDR praised Hitler, both policies.
Well, and I'm actually reading this book right now, audiobook. I don't read because I don't know how, but it's called is it the Myth of Management or the Management Myth? It's one of those two. And it's all about basically the concept of managerial science that came about by this guy named Taylor. I forget his first name, but they ended up calling it Taylorism.
Taylorism,
yeah. And I never really heard about this. So one of the things I'm pretty interested in.
Communists started to implement originally.
Yeah, they did too. But he had a lot of influence. And this book's basically about how like the concept of management science is just absolute bullshit. But I'm only part way through, so I haven't got to the meat of it yet. But because that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in, we have this concept of the expert that I feel like is kind of a new concept, really, and it's almost certainly a 20th century concept. The way it's being used. I know we talked about before, like there's shamans and stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily consider like what we consider the experts the same as like a shaman back in the day. But I kind of see the bridge you can draw there. But
you should read We by Yevgeny Zamantyan, who was one of the old Bolsheviks.
Okay.
And very inspirational to 1984. Supposedly, from my understanding, Orwell read We the summer right prior to him beginning to write 1984. And it talks about Taylorism. And it's a society, communist society, where there is no family, there is no there's no property, and so with that, there's no property of yourself. So you just get a little slip. Say you want to go sleep with your neighbor down the street or whatever. You go, oh yeah, I put in the slip, and then she's got to report to my house, and I get to have sex with her. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not real familiar with Huxley's work, but
it's Brave New World, right?
Yeah.
If
I'm not mistaken, that's how it works in Huxley's book as well. We can go to Logan's Run, which was originally a novel. The movie Logan's Run worked the same way. This is this communist utopian society they talk about. And there was a movement, of course, a while back, still going on, but with polyamorism based on a book that's anthropologically incorrect, from what I understand, called Sex at Dawn, and that human beings, back when they were communist tribalists, they didn't really have partners, and that's not really true.
I remember. Yeah, Chris Ryan. I've listened to his podcast a couple of times. I know that he's got some weird, like, things about sex and stuff. Well, obviously the book's called Sex at Dawn. One thing I did listen to that I think he might be right about is he talks about lifespans, but because a lot of people say, oh, back in the day you died at 30, and he's like, actually, you kind of didn't. I haven't really looked into it that much, but that seems pretty interesting concept, because I know
a lot of children die. Most people live like they live today,
which probably it's probably itself isn't a very big brain concept. I think that's kind of a meme that gets passed around that you live to the ripe old age of 25 or whatever. And of course, I have my opinions about technology and what increasing your lifespan by 5 years might actually mean, but whatever, that's a different topic.
Well, there's the concept of the caveman too. That's a huge, ridiculous misnomer. People didn't really live in caves. Some people in some parts of the world lived in caves or dug out stone buildings from cliffside or whatever. But generally speaking, like any other animal, we build our own habitats, our own nests, if you would. And if people did go to caves, often it was for religious reasons.
Yeah.
And there's very deep seated things there with our understandings or mythologies or whatever you want to call them of the concept of the underworld and whatever else.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of what seems to be common sense. Fat makes you fat. That kind
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but kind of get back to my point, like the political difference between progressive and, like I said before, for lack of a better term, reactionary, to me is a bigger distinction than left and right. And that's why I don't when I want to talk to someone like a little more, I don't want to use this term highbrow, but I guess that's what we want to use. Not non-normie. That's kind of the terms I want to talk about things on. Is here's do you believe that we can progress as society, one, and is there an end goal or whatever, or do, like me, believe that really the way we used to do it was better, and we're not really engineered for techno-industrial society. To me, that's huge. That's a huge. I mean, obviously, it's a huge topic, but that's where most of my interest lies. And I guess we've completely got off the topic of alternative tech, but we're going to go down this rabbit hole. But yeah, just to kind of bring it home to what you're talking
when
about.
I came up with the name of the show before we ever even met, rabbit holes was something I knew would happen, but did not quite foresee until we got connected. And you're kind of the one who was like, let's keep it a rabbit hole show. And so we named it that. Maybe we have to have another podcast called the
rabbit holes.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole.
But I guess to talk about that book again, it's pretty interesting, and but it kind of goes to what you're talking about with like how you're defining left and right. Like left is about control and I would add progress to that and authoritarianism. But like this guy Taylor, he was like, I'm going to treat humanity like a machine, and we're going to, this book argues that actually a lot of the science that he used is absolute bullshit, which is whatever.
It was like a business management system, and it was that he thought factories could be mathematically calculated and whatever else, and but that's what the early Soviet Union was trying to implement. And Samantian talks about it. One of the early videos I covered or I made over on All Minus One was the was talking about we. Now that was before I had OBS working and whatever else, so I didn't have any overlays, or you couldn't read with me. It was just me reading into a screen and trying not to be too long-winded as I usually am. But I always go. I want to go back to the origins of these ideas as far as we can go, right? And there's the origins in the 20th and 19th centuries. Of course, there's the way further back origins, going back to Plato and the concept of the Republic. It's funny when you read stuff about Plato's Republic. I brought up an article a little while ago in a video I made, and some professor was like, well, people try to claim that Plato was making some sort of communist utopia, but not really so much so. And I'm like, no, he absolutely was suggesting this. Maybe it was a thought experiment. Maybe. But it seemed that he was arguing that this would be the most moral way to construct society. Destroy all of families, have 3 classes of people, and make that 3 classes of people be very specific to where they could be, and only take the upper echelon of folks that we bred specifically to be our leaders, to lead us. And that's how you made a just society. And I'm like, yeah, that's just authoritarianism. It literally, and that's what all left-wing ideologies amount to.
Well, you see this play a lot, and I think that book that I've recommended in the past, the Machiavellians, James Burnham. He says, look, just kind of give the nut meat of this huge book. Constitutions and Declaration of Independences and edicts and all this stuff they're all words on paper. The thing that matters is, and I think Plato's doing the same thing here. I think he even mentions this in the book. It's all about people like me and my buddies need to be in power. That's everything else is window dressing. So of course, if I remember correctly, Plato's basically saying that the world needs to be run by philosophers. Well, what was Plato? So he's basically saying, come the revolution. This is every left-wing person I ever see like with a hammer and stick on their
I know better. I can run it right.
They're like, it's that, and plus it's come the revolution, I'm gonna get a cushy job in the office. I'm not gonna be the one pouring steel.
The founder, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, just said the other day that capitalism has failed every time it's ever been tried. So she's taken that communism has failed every time it's been tried and switched that around on capitalism. And what's so crazy about that is that these folks have this ridiculous idea of what capitalism is, that capitalism means that you have to own a factory or whatever else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you break it down to the most simplest components, right? The first principles. You own yourself, you own your labor. That's capitalism. In a nutshell, all communists are capitalists. Not all capitalists are communists. You cannot have a communist society without capitalism, period. It's how it works. Trade has always existed. Your labor and your value of labor has always existed, unless you're going to have straight up slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what left-wing ideologies come down to. And that's what Plato's Republic comes down to, is having essentially a slave class of the artisans and the merchants and whatever else. He calls those people the belly because they can only think with their gut, basically with their hunger. And then you have the police warrior class, and they think with their heart. They're courageous. And then you have the guardians, the people that think with their brains, the philosophers, the very, very, very smart people. This is why I can't stand someone like, although I'll praise him when he's right about things, but why I can't stand people like Noam Chomsky? Because I'm like, what? Like, how can you be this smart and yet this insane? Or recently, Sam Harris. Where
look, here's the thing. So there's this semi-viral thread that's going around on Twitter, and it's this quit. And you see these a lot, but like, what are you going to do after the revolution? Like, it's a bunch of left wingers with like hammers and sickles and stuff in their bios, and they're what are you gonna do in the leftist commune, or what are you gonna do after revolution, or what's your job going to be when the revolution comes? And they're all just LARPing basically, but they're all, I mean, it's a ridiculous. I'm going to be a tarot card reader. It's fully serious. I'm going to be a tarot card leader. I'm going to be the fashion designer. Like, none of these guys are plumbers. None of these guys are saying, I'm going to be one or two. I don't want to, I'm being hyperbolic, but for every one guy who's like, yeah, I guess I'll be a welder, there's like 15 guys you're like, I'm gonna work the spice garden, or
I'm gonna be a heroin addict. I mean, why not? The government's gonna pay me for it.
And what this shows me is that these guys, like I was saying before, their entire ideology is that come the revolution, they get to do their hobby. Basically, is what it amounts to. And I think that goes back to that Machiavellian concept of all this stuff about labor theory of value and workers' rights and blah, 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 blah. You want to build a society where you have it better than you have it right now, which is ambitious, I guess. Everyone would like to have it better. But in no realistic society that you're going to build after a revolution, especially right after you fight a war to, create the society, you're not going to get to be a poet, bro. Like, somebody might get to be a poet. It ain't going to be you.
Did you watch China Uncensored on Tim Pool the other day?
No, I didn't.
On Friday, he had I was not even aware of their show, but there is a show called China Uncensored, and one of the hosts of the show, I guess her parents grew up under Maoist China, and they talk about some of the things that happened during the Cultural Revolution and whatnot.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't get to catch the whole episode, and I haven't gone back to rewatch it, but what I did watch was pretty good. And of course, then they got a sub for me because that's what I do. That's how it works, man. Find new information, you go follow. But yeah, it's like the idea. I think the most powerful thing that people can understand about these ideas is not just what happened in Soviet Russia, not just what happened in China, but what also happened in Cuba, in Venezuela, right. What happened all throughout South America, Uruguay, very specifically, where these ideas came in. What happened during the Spanish Civil War between the communists and the fascists? And the freaking Spanish are so crazy. They want communism right now. It's like, oh, we're no longer fascist. We're a little bit more free, and they want more programs. And the Greeks, they have all kinds of social welfare and nonsense. And there's just example after example, places all over the world. There's a really great video based on a book. I can't recall the author's name, but there's a great video you can usually find on YouTube called Heaven and Earth. And it's about socialism. And it talks about what we might call primitive forms or pre-forms of socialism before the 1900s, when socialism became a thing, French Revolution, all that stuff. But Heaven on Earth is a documentary series that PBS did based on this book, and essentially it just goes through like these little iterations over time. And I think one of the best examples I saw in that video some years ago, the first time I watched it, was the Israeli kibbutz. So I like to bring it up a lot because then you research what happened in the kibbutz, and you find out that the people who lived there in the early nation of Israel were all socialists. And as they got wealthy, right, as they had more free markets and whatever else, they all left. Because you're only a socialist when you're poor, essentially. And if you have a choice to not be a socialist anymore, you know what you do? You become a capitalist. You become a free marketeer. And this is why I always say Marx is an idiot, because he got it completely backwards. So if socialism was the greatest thing ever, everyone would be trying to move toward it, and not toward free markets, not toward free trade, not toward free exchange. And instead what we see is we see this movement of people going toward exactly that. In fact, in the Soviet Union, you couldn't even have really the markets that they did have, couldn't have them without free markets around the world, because they didn't know how to price things. They had to base their prices of food and goods on the capitalist markets. I'm not a fan of mixed economies either, although I'm not against certain basic regulations, laws, whatever. But this idea of a mixed economy, if you look into the reality, all mixed economies are centralized economies. You don't have a free market if you have a centralized bank. And I hate to tell you folks, but centralized banks rule the world. There's more to it than that, but they really run the show. And that's why Libya doesn't exist anymore.
But when you brought up the Cultural Revolution in China, it reminded me of something. There's a book. It's actually a pretty cool book if anyone's interested. It's called Red Azalea. Yeah, Red Azalea. And it's about, so anyone who doesn't know about the Cultural Revolution in China, obviously, to give you a quick rundown, the communists took over in China in 1949 is when it happened. And then there were some purges, this and that. And then the Cultural Revolution actually didn't start until the mid 60s. And it was basically a student, it's activist, more or less. A lot of younger kids in their, younger teens and early 20s. But one of the things that came about is there was this big propaganda movement for, I don't want to say hard labor, but non-intellectual labor. So a lot of the kids that graduated, young adults that graduated like grad school and stuff in China, they made them go work in the farms. Now this book it's pretty interesting because it's a lot of the book is this young lady who was I think she's a Red Guard in the Cultural Revolution, and then she graduates and they send her to work in the farm. And there's so much propaganda being like how this was so noble. Like you need to, you need to go and work with the pigs. Everything you'll ever need to learn, you'll learn on the farm. There's actually a story. I don't know if it's true or not, but it got passed around as propaganda of this younger kid, younger adult who ended up going back to college or something after he'd been on the farm, and they gave him a test in school or something. I forget exactly what it is. It turns in a blank sheet of paper. And they're like, you didn't put any answers down here. And he says, everything I need to learn, I learned in the farm. And that's the exact opposite of what you see of these guys, on Twitter talking about when they're LARPing in their revolution, is that, oh, I'm going to be a poet, or no, you're going to go fucking work with the pigs, or they're going to make you, because there's, the commune doesn't need that many poets.
Well, the kulaks were a great example, and this happened in China as well. But the kulaks being just freed from slavery, and then like a few centuries before, and then serfdom, were in serfdom, and then finally able to actually own their own land and whatever else. They were the rich folks. I got 4 acres of land that I can plow and till, and I'm the rich folk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really gross the way they distort things, and people follow along with it. I might have brought this up prior on another stream, but I did see Yao Ming Park from the book In Order to Live, which was a young North Korean lady who escaped with her family from North Korea, and apparently she had been attacked in Chicago, where she lives now, and she was called a racist and all this other stuff. And she was talking to Dave Rubin about this and how she can't believe how what's going on here, because it reminds her so much of the way things worked in North Korea. And no one's going to, like, the commies will, well, a lot of commies will also be apologists for North Korea or Soviet Russia or whatever else, which is absolutely insane. I mean, I get it. I get where people who are, where we're at, or, well, me, because you're kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to quite place you within the politics, other than that you would be considered right, kind of free.
That's fair. Yeah.
But for people like me or other people who are on the right, whatever, you're seeing a lot of these things about being against commies and throwing commies from helicopters and this and that. And commies aren't people, so it's okay to kill them. And I get most of it's joking. I can also see on the left how they would distort that, manipulate that, and go, see these evil right wingers and the stuff that they do. And it's like, well, okay, man, but how many times have you called me a classical liberal who wants you to be free and basically left alone in a constitutional system? How many times have you called someone like me a Nazi, or the great Trotsky word or Leninist word, a racist, or those things? A sexist, a homophobe, a bigot. I actually like the word bigot, because bigot has a connotation of just not, actual definition of just not being open-minded to someone else's perspective. Basically being blinded by your own perspective. So, I don't know what I got on all that about, but essentially, there is a movement of folks that are starting to want to be hostile toward the other side, and I get it. I get it very strongly. I don't want to see that happen, because I don't think either group really understands, although there are more veterans probably on our team, I would say. But I don't want to see violence. I don't want to see people having to go through these horrible things that these other nations have. And in fact, our own nation did in the past. And yeah, I mean, I bring it up a lot, but it goes back to Solzhenitsyn talking about you can't continue to perpetuate the lie. At some point, no matter the cost, you have to live the truth. And to some degree, that is, to my mind, biblical and scriptural, and a command from Christ.
Yeah.
So I don't know. By the way, we got our buddy Matt in the chat.
Cool. Hey, Matt.
Yeah. Thanks for showing up, man. Merry Christmas to you.
You said, oh yeah, but you were going back to the Kulak thing. I don't know if this is new information to anyone, but my kind of perspective on that whole era, you know. So again, it goes back to that Schmittian, my team, your team. If you're going to have some kind of progressive revolution, regardless of what it is, the people that you're going to consider to be your biggest enemies are going to be the people that are self-sufficient and don't need your revolution, you know, obviously. So you got something like where you've got people, you know, that, and I think Richard Pipes, who wrote a book on the Bolshevik Revolution, I think he points this out with some kind of data or whatever, that the Bolshevik Revolution was an urban revolution. And that's why, you know, the kulaks, who were obviously rural with their farmland, were hated so much, is because some dude coming out from the city, you know, Moscow or wherever, and you're out in wherever you are, you know, in bumfuck Russia, you know, they come down and like, hey, you know, labor exploit, what, you know, what the Marxist du jour or whatever it was. And these guys are like, well, you know, I just kind of have my cows and my chickens and my wheat field, not really care about any of that stuff. They're counter-revolutionary by definition.
Right.
So you know, so that, and you see that today in politics. There's this huge urban rural divide. It's because you got guys that are like, I don't need your politics. Like I have the skills, less so than our forefathers, like we were saying before, but I have the skills to maintain what I don't care about the means of production or labor theory value and that stuff. You know, I've got a wife, I've got some kids, I'm good. And so they're going to be the ones that are going to be the biggest enemies, because they're not going to join your tribe.
Yeah, well, like I said, this is why you should read because he talks about a lot of these things. In fact, I mean, I wasn't aware of the book until earlier this year, and I had picked it up, and it's good. It's a good read, and it's one of the early dystopian novels. And in fact, I was telling my wife, I'm not a big fan of all the not a big fan of all the like digital books. I got a lot of digital books. Don't get me wrong. I have like a bunch of Kindle books. I have all kinds of like classics. I have like, you know, Herodotus's histories and stuff on Kindle. But that's just because to buy those books elsewhere gets expensive. I'm not sitting there reading through that stuff on the regular. I mean, I have a whole tab on my Chrome and on my computer right now for the Harvard Classic Library, where I can read all that stuff free. I read stuff digitally, of course, but I really, really like having something hard in case things just go really bad.
Yeah.
And I want to collect some of these early dystopian novels. And interestingly, one of them was written by Jack London. I haven't read through it yet, but it's been sitting on the shelf for a little bit. That Jack London of man, why can't I think of the name of the book now? A lot of kids used to have to read Jack London in high school.
Yeah, he did White Fang and something else. There's another big one he did. I forget what it's called.
There's a book he wrote called the Scarlet Plague, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's literally about a dystopian society after a plague comes in, much like the Koof currently. So,
except ours isn't killing anyone, and it's still dystopian.
Right. I'm trying to find this video. I mean, it was one of the early videos I made on Wii. But you would enjoy Wii. It's not a very thick book. In fact, the way it's written is like basically a journal. So there's like a bunch of chapters, but they're like 3 or 4 pages long, and they're written in a like journal type style of the main character. There's a couple different translations too, because there was a couple different manuscripts originally, but it's quite interesting because when you find a guy who, look at that, man, I have a haircut here and everything. I don't remember the last time I had a haircut. But I'll put this in the chat in case Matt or anybody else who wants to watch this later on wants to check it out. In case one of the early videos I did, I talk about, I'm reading directly from it. I talk about the background of the old Bolsheviks. I talk about Taylorism, which you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, just some things if you want some other reference points on that. And a video that, I don't know, How long was that video? 48 minutes of just my pretty face. So no words on screen like I get to do now, because OBS was giving me the business back in the day. But I don't know, Tank, you got anything else to say? I know we talk about communism and, you know, tankies and this craziness a lot, but it's a big deal to folks like you and I, you know.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying before, kind of to reiterate, the kick that I'm on right now is that, you know, before the 20th century, well, maybe I definitely say before the Industrial Revolution, there wasn't really the concept of the expert as we know it today. And that's something I think a lot of people, I guess I'm going to put something out in the ether for someone to think about. You know, how we got to where we are now in terms of, like, you hear it every day, trust the experts, and of course, we're always like cocking our eyebrow about how a lot of these experts are full of shit, but they got power somehow. You know, it didn't just happen. And whatever trajectory that was is, I think, going to be pretty eye-opening if we can get more people talking about it. I know that goes against a lot of people, because a lot of people, you know, even people that we respect, I think, want to do this thing where they want to kick studies out and this, and you know, it's got its place, but like I said, intuition's very important for me as I get older. I think
I agree with you. I also think I'm very much in the mindset of the Socratic method, asking questions essentially to get to an end, and also like observing logical fallacies. Just and don't get me wrong, we all make them.
Yeah.
But we have to understand, like, when someone makes an argument, the biggest one is an appeal to authority that I just can't stand, because authorities are fallible, and it's the most demagoguery and appeals to authority, red herrings, of course. They're like some of the most prevalent logical fallacies that people use, and it's not real discussion. And that's the thing, is I might disagree with you, but I'm not trying to destroy your argument per se. I want to know where you're coming from. I don't even necessarily want to convince you. I used to joke a lot. I've never convinced anyone of anything ever in my life, because I don't really know how to convince people. I'm not a salesman, man. I'm a truth guy. I speak the truth.
There's there's actually, it's funny you say that. There's I think I've talked about it before, Hunter Motz. He's been on Joe Rogan, and he did a podcast, understood it, called Mixed Mental Arts. And he has this concept of the rider and elephant. And basically what he says is, actually most of your opinions are intuition. And then you find stuff to kind of justify your gut feelings on things.
Yeah, we rationalize post hoc.
Yeah, and you know, and that's humanity. Whatever, I don't care. One thing I've been doing, kind of on this topic, is you know, there's a whole mask debate, and you'll see study says mask does this, study says mask doesn't do that. You know, whatever. And you know, when I talk to people, I've been saying, okay, so I understand mask when they were saying that it was droplet transmission. You know, you spit when you talk, whatever. It has a trajectory. The mask is a literal prophylactic. I said, but now they have asymptomatic transmission, is what they're saying. Not asymptomatic, I'm sorry. Aerosol transmission. And I'm like, explain to me how a mask, a normal surgical mask now, stops aerosol transmission. And they'll say, well, the study says this. I said, I don't want to study. Give me a mechanism. Give me the mechanical ability that a mask has against spreading aerosol transmission. And you don't really find, and I could very well be full of shit.
I went through
the
CDC data the other week. Not every little bit of it, but with the things that they say mask may protect you. Like, the CDC is careful with its language.
Yeah. And
I went through the data that they actually have listed, they cite, and everything's a 2020 study, except for a few things here and there. And one of the first studies is from, I think, 1997. It might be later than that. It might be 2007. In any case, I brought it up, and they're showing the mask and essentially airflow coming out, because they're using smoke and other things. I've looked at other studies with all that. We've talked about it before. You need like an M95 or greater.
Yeah.
The reality is, though, there was a Danish study that the Danes don't wear masks. There's no mask mandates. This is the other thing, is that Americans are, we're such sheeple. We trust our institutions so much. It drives me nuts. But we just believe something that we're told by any institution that we find authoritative. Well, Harvard said this, therefore it must be true. You know, what
Yeah.
okay. No. Institutions are fallible, and so are individuals. And we need to get down to the basics of logic. Like you said, mechanics, really.
Yeah.
'Cause that's really what logic is, right?
Yeah.
It's like a mechanical form of thinking, if you would, mathematical way of thinking. It's not Taylorism, but
Yeah. Well, it's like a, I tell people, if I'm standing on top of a hill and I got something round and I set it on top of the hill, I know it's going to roll downhill. I don't need to know anything about gravity or physics or anything. I just know from being alive that that's how things work. So that's why I tell people, or when I bring this up, explain to me the mechanism that stops aerosol transmission from something that's not airtight. And well, the study says that, or what, or this kind. I don't. None of that matters. You're. It's ultimately like you're gaslighting me. Like, just tell me. There's got to be something that's blocking it. If it's aerosol, and they don't.
Right. Matt just posted in the chat that yesterday stats came out that masks increase likelihood of coof infection. And it's like, well, we've already known this, though. Epidemiologists have been raising the flag on this for a while. And there's also a, I forget what it's called. There's also a form of brown lung that you can get through inhaling cotton particles. There's stuff that it's biocinosis or something like that. I can't recall. Like, we know how masks work.
Yeah.
We've known forever. And I've worked in medical environments forever where I've had to wear a mask at certain points or protective gear or whatever. And the idea that all of a sudden we're doing this new thing. And again, I know I just talked about appeals to authority. I'm not saying that I'm appealing to my authority. I'm just saying that this is we've had a standard. It's been this way. This isn't like new understanding that, we should probably wash our hands between surgery patients. Like that happened at one point. And the guy that suggested, I can't recall his name, was basically deemed a kook.
Yeah.
But we later on figured it out. Maybe we should wash our hands between surgery patients. Well, this mask stuff is, it's absolutely silly. I brought up the Danish study because it was a difference between like 1.8 of who got infected with the coof of like 5,000 participants versus that were masked, by the way, 1.8 versus 2.1 that didn't wear masks that got infected with the coof. And again, out of about 5,000 participants.
Yeah, but it's
that's like statistically absolutely insignificant. You have one, a low infection rate period in either group, and two, almost no difference between, like, we're talking about 0.3% between the two groups. Come on.
But when you ask someone, explain to me the mechanism that a non-sealed mask does to prevent aerosol transmission, they want to give you a study. You should, everyone's so trained to feel like they need a study to tell them how to live their life. Humans survived the wilderness for millennia before we ever knew what a study was, before we ever had to even have a concept of science. We just figured stuff out.
You know what that is, Hank? You just triggered a thought in my mind. You know what that is? That's our society getting stupid.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, literally, if a study has to prove everything to you, that is your lack of ability to actually think. And I've never really thought of it like that. But, after our friendship here has developed over the months of doing the show, you have turned me on to some certain very particular ideas that are quite strong. Like, don't trust the experts. Like, why is everything about experts? And it really comes down to, does the individual have the ability to think? And the more we institutionalize and make everything about experts, the less people think. And in a conversation I saw the other day, I was watching Uzulu's stream. Yiz was on there, and I was in the chat. And one of the things someone brought up was epigenetics in epigenetics, and because she just started talking about personalities, and that she believes that a lot of this stuff is genetic, the way people are thinking and this and that. And then they kind of people were thinking that she was talking about race, where I don't think she was. She was literally just talking about personalities. And the science is very clear on this. If you study personality psychology, personality is very much ingrained. Is there a nature nurture component? Absolutely. They're not mutually exclusive, but there's a lot of genetic components to it. And I think the best example of that is between the sexes, because females are just highly neurotic compared to men. Now, there are some neurotic men and there are some completely fearless females, but females generally are much more neurotic. That's just in the literature. Come at me, ladies. Hate me. I don't care. Like, you know, your emotions, which is exactly what I'm talking about, is not a thing that matters. It is the reality. It's a perceived reality that almost everybody knows. In any case, the fact of the matter is, though, that we are increasingly, like, I'm a very knowledge-based guy, but we're increasingly worshiping knowledge. We're becoming Gnostics, in my opinion, right? And there's this pinnacle of this height of things that we have to reach. We're a credentialed society now. Just, you know, everyone has to go to college. You know, here I have an associate's degree, but I guarantee you, because I have talked to people who think I have a doctorate. Yeah. And it's not because I'm some genius either. No, I know I'm in an upper percentile of intellect. At the same time, I'm actually glad that I'm not in a higher percentage of intellect, because I'd probably just be a nut job like Sam Harris or anyone else I might have spoke of.
Well, you know, Michael Malice, he talks about this a lot. You know, the concept of the midwit. It's not necessarily the super smart people that's the problem. It's the people that are of more or less average intelligence that think they're a lot smarter than they are. And that's kind of why I'm embracing this idea of like
Kruger effect.
Yeah. And I just kind of, that's why I try to consciously embrace this idea that, you know, there's plenty of people smarter than me. I'm not that smart, you know, and that's why, you know, when I talk to these people and have these like mini debates or whatever about masks or whatever, explain to me like legitimately tell me what is the mechanism. Don't give me some weird, you know, R factor, some statistical analysis. Just tell me the mechanism.
Can you make an argument? Can you make an argument without having to appeal to authority?
And I might be absolutely full of shit, and I'll call myself out on that right now. If there might be a mechanism, you know, I doubt it, but you know, here this is an open call. If you can tell me the mechanism that, you know, stops a non-airtight mask from spreading aerosols, I'm all ears. But I haven't heard that. All I've seen is, well, this study says this or this study says that or yuckity. I don't care, you know.
And that's like I said, that's a society that isn't thinking. Who is thinking at that point? Oh, I was told, therefore it is. I mean, you're literally, I was talking about the epigenetic component. You're literally not using your brain, and potentially, I would say, future generations are being taught that. And I know we talked about this with Kizza on Saturday, but there is evidence. Now, Kizza seemed to think it was for certain. I've seen conflicting evidence of it, but there is evidence that the IQ of Western nations is going down. Now, some people could say, well, that's because we're importing folks with lower IQs from other parts of the world, which is, to some degree, was something he was suggesting. But no, I don't think so at all. Look at our schooling. Look at how we've continued to dumb down our education system. The United States is in one of the worst places of nations as far as literacy, mathematics, basic stuff. And we use education to brainwash people, to indoctrinate them, and just stupid stuff like social justice. Well, I hate to tell you, social justice is just code words for I'm a commie, and guess what? If I don't like you, you die, because I'm an authoritarian. And the only people that make it out in the end of communism, the only people that do well, are those that either stay really, really silent and keep their head down, or those who are in charge of a political establishment. And they live like kings, folks. They live quite well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's like 15 after. We did like 40 minutes of memes tonight.
Yeah, we hit it. Yeah, we went
That's
over.
why having a short show tonight. I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, right. It's right before Christmas. We'll just have a short show. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's probably a good place to call it. And I guess the next show we're going to be with Matt, right, on the 28th.
Is that yeah? I guess that would be after the Christmas. So Monday, 28th, right? That is Monday. Yes.
Yes, it is Monday.
Okay, Monday the 28th. We will be over on D Live and YouTube again. We'll probably be having a shorter show, maybe an hour, because Matt is quite strict with his time when he's not doing his own work, so he limits his engagements to 30 minutes. But we'll be interviewing Matt Christensen, who I've known for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now. I not to brag, but helped convince him, as well as Blonde and maybe a few other people who were patrons of his, to date a woman who was a viewer, a fan, because Matt kind of had some ethical asides with that, and that woman is now his wife. So, in any case, and also put Matt up to the challenge of going out to date women and such at the time. Some interesting stories. But in any case, I've had a relationship with those folks for a while, and Matt is every ounce of who he is on camera as well as off. He's the same guy. He's actually a little bit more quiet off camera, but we'll have him here on the show, and I'm actually going to let Tank do most of the talking with that because, I know Matt. Yeah. So. It's not like I'm talking to him every day or anything. We're not besties, but yeah. So I don't know, man. You got any parting shots?
Subscribe to my OnlyFans. That's it.
Oh man. Guys, he doesn't shave that area. That's all I'm saying.
Nah, bro, I'm all natural.
I was showing Tank my disgusting few Discord servers I'm in, and I think there was a picture of him in there.
Probably.
I pulled that up earlier, by the way, the Discord up, and I forgot that I had left that up because I was like, why am I even in this server? I don't even know. Like, I never go in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, this server. Oh. In any case, guys, hey, thanks all for joining. If you missed the beginning of the show, obviously you can go watch it again on the D Live replays. We are on, of course, YouTube at the Ends Justified, the memes.
We'll be on Rumble tonight.
Tank's going to upload us, I guess. And we're working on that. You can find me over at All-1 on YouTube. I am also on Rumble. I am working on my library, updating my back catalog of YouTube videos, because in the last 6 months, I've made over 100 videos. So there's all that. I don't know. Anything else we got coming up? We'll probably do a normal Wednesday show, I would think, after we're on with Matt. And we're going to be on the 2nd with Kizza GT again, as long as he is on his hiatus from work. So hopefully, obviously things come up. So, is that about it, man? What we got? If you go on the D Live, there's a subscribe star link. There's a Minds that Tank does nothing with because we're really bad at promoting the show.
We're gonna be on Locals as soon as our Locals community, or whatever it's called, gets approved. And I think I don't know all of the things they have to offer, but I'm pretty sure they do. I'm almost positive you can upload audio on there, so I think we'll probably switch all of our audio over to that, because I don't know how long Anchor is going to let us be around. So yeah, there's that. If I can upload videos, I'm gonna try to upload videos there too, but I don't know what the bandwidth allowance is yet.
And Tank's been working hard on this, guys, lately. Before we've kind of been fly by the seat of the pants, everything else. Like I said, we went to StreamYards now, so new look, same great taste. And I don't know. That's about it, man. We're gonna keep, trying to grow. Please, guys, help us out. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. If you have enjoyed, of course, not compelling you to do anything, but don't make me come over to your house. In any case, guys, that's pretty much it. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope you all, whether you are secular or religious, enjoy the holidays. Get over this stupid craziness that this world is going through right now, and spend some time with your family. And remember what's important in life. With all that said, this has been the Ends Justify the Memes. And remember, the ends always justify those memes. Play that outro, Tank.
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in. But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah. Macho Madness, yeah, it's got more to offer. And President Jack Tunney thinks that I got, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. Cards stacked against the Macho Man Randy Savage in WrestleMania 3. Yeah, let me say it, yeah. Let me say it out loud. And let me point to the president.